we are talking on this episode about what to do with your old 401ks, your 403bs. On average, a person is going to change jobs 12 times in their career. I assume that's post-college. I assume that's what that stat is talking about. Now, I did a quick review of my jobs post-college, and I realized that I've had 6 jobs already since college. So I'm like, I'm halfway there. You got that Bon Jovi song, "Whoa, halfway there." What, living on a prayer. So I'm halfway there already. Now depending on the job, I've stayed there a little bit longer than 4.3 years. So my last job, I was there for 9 years. Prior to that, was 5 years. Hopefully with this one, hopefully this one's, Lord willing, will be the last one for me. So David, how many jobs have you had, at least since you've graduated college?
Yeah, sure. And thanks again, Art, for having me on. I think in total it's probably about 7, I think. So yeah, started off doing rockets overseas and then came back to the States and worked for SpaceX for a while and was there, and then transitioned into some other aerospace and defense companies. But yeah, I think in total it's about 7.
Man, I wish I could say that. I wish I could say that, yeah, I was doing rockets overseas. I don't have that. I don't have that story. That's awesome. That's so cool. All right. So, but you're a financial advisor now and passionate about helping people discover and pursue God's design for money. And you have individuals, couples that come in and they have old 401ks. They've gone, they've transitioned to a new job, which is very common, obviously according to these stats. And they're wondering, okay, well, what do I do with my old 401k, my old 403b? And in this episode, I want to cover 4 options that a person can pursue. And so the first option would be to cash out. And so David, explain what that means when we're talking about cashing out.
Yeah, sure. So essentially, when you leave an old job, and in fact, one of the reasons why there's so many what I call orphan 401ks or orphan retirement accounts is because there's not a real big pressing need necessarily for you to actually do something. You don't have a time limit necessarily to take money and roll it over into an IRA. It could sit there potentially indefinitely until retirement. But really,
Mm.
the cash out option, which is my least favorite option, I'll say, is essentially you liquidating the account, and especially if you're below 59 and a half, you would get penalized and you would get the taxes on it. And so you'd have to pay taxes and you would get a penalty for cashing the money out. And so again, that's my least favorite option. I would only use that option if I was in a very, very tough bind and I had no other access to funds and I needed to liquidate the account. Essentially, again, you would pay, let's just say somewhere between 10 and 30% a penalty between taxes and penalties, to have that money liquidated and then deposited into your bank.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. That's a pretty hefty fee to have to pay there. Now, according to Vanguard, the amount of people that are cashing out has actually increased. And
Mhm.
certainly that has somewhat to do with the economy and some of the financial stressors that we're feeling. But it's a stat that I hate hearing, because not only are they paying the fee now, but they're missing out on the future impact that money could have with compounding, which is making money on top of your money. Now, there is a situation where it may be good to do another option, and that's to do nothing. So David, talk a little bit about that particular option, just simply doing nothing.
Yeah, this is a great option. If there's a couple different scenarios here, Art, where I think it's more applicable. So let's say you potentially have your old 401k, and maybe you got laid off, and you're waiting to find another job. It's possible that once you get that new job, you could roll the old 401k into the new 401k. So maybe doing nothing for a period of time is okay. And then the other big scenario where I think it's okay to do nothing is if you're, and we've talked about this before, but if you're a pastor or a minister and you're using part of that 403b9 for the housing allowance specifically, you don't want to cash that out or roll it over to an IRA or to another non-qualified account where you would potentially lose that housing allowance and then basically not have it count as tax-free income in retirement.
Yeah, that's big for ministers. And so if your retirement account is held by what's called a denominational pension board, which has to be classified by the IRS.
Right.
So, and you'll need to talk to your HR office to see, hey, is this, if I'm a part of a ministry, is this a particular group that we're with, are they classified as a denominational pension board? If so, then you can actually pull or claim housing from the funds that you receive for those retirement funds. And so that's very important. If you move it to an organization that's not classified as a denominational pension board, then you can actually lose that benefit. So you want to be very careful there. Maybe if the person likes the investments with that old 401k that are housed in there, and they think that the fees are reasonable, then that may be another reason to stick with it. It's certainly better than cashing out. Once again, I agree with David. That's the one that we don't want you to do. We don't want you to cash out if at all possible because of the fees and the impact that will have on your future retirement. So those are two options. One, you could cash out. We would rather you not. You could do nothing, and that may be the right move for you, at least temporarily. Or if you're a minister, that may be a wise, certainly may be a wise move for you for your housing allowance. There's a couple of other options that a person could have with their old 401k, 403b. We're going to hit on those here in just a second. But first, I want to tell you about a program that I am incredibly excited about. Here's the reality. We need an army of certified Christian financial counselors to meet the need that's out there. Too many people are struggling with their finances and have no clue what step to take next, or that God has a lot to say about their money. So, are you passionate about helping others obtain financial health through a biblical worldview? If so, consider becoming a certified Christian financial counselor. Christian financial counselors help individuals and couples discover and pursue God's design for money. Christian financial counselors guide individuals and couples in making wise financial decisions, build sound financial habits, and increase their biblical and financial literacy. The CERT CFC program, so that stands for Certified Christian Financial Counselor Program, prepares you to take the CERT CFC examination. Now, here's what you will receive with the program. 32 go-at-your-own-pace modules covering the essentials in personal finances and what Scripture says about money, 32 practice quizzes, over 30 resources to help you with your future financial counseling, and of course, the opportunity to take the CERT CFC examination. Learn more by going to christianfinancialhealth, that's with a th.com. Once again, that's christianfinancialhealth.com. So we mentioned at the top of the episode that the savings rate is at 3.44% right now, which is abysmal. People are pulling money out of their 401ks at a higher rate than what we've seen in the past. Man, I wish that somebody would have told me early on in my career that you need to set aside at least 15% of your gross income. I was leveraging my 401ks when I was with the various banks that I was a part of early on in my career, but it was like 5%, 6%. I was getting the match, but that was about it. I wish that somebody would have said, hey, you need to ratchet it up a little bit more. And so that's, as I look back on some financial regrets, that is one of them, that I did not save more earlier. It's not that I didn't save, but I wish I would not, or would have saved more. Of course, that's why we put together the money challenge for teens. If you have a teenager or a college student, we walk them through that, the importance of saving for the future, that it can have a massive impact on down the road. I'm 41 now, and I'm looking at my early 20s like, man, I wish I would have saved more. I'm grateful that I saved what I did. But man, courage if you're a young adult, if you are in college listening to this, go for that 15%. That's the Go
And
for it.
Art, if you study the numbers there, it's actually very impactful. If you were just to invest the same amount of money from like, let's just say 25 to 35, and then you stopped versus someone who started at 35, they would almost never catch up to
Yep.
that person. It's the numbers are insane when you look at compounding.
It's frustrating too at times. On this end, I'm like, I could have saved a little bit more there. Okay, so we've already hit on two different options. So with old 401ks, so you're leaving your job, you have this old 401k, 403b, you're not really sure what to do with it. We said there's two options already. One, you could cash out. We don't want you to do that, but that's an option. It's possible. Option number two, keep it there. That may be good temporarily, or if you like the investments, you're okay with the fees, or you're a minister. That would certainly be a reason, and it's a denominational pension board. That's a reason to keep it there, so you can take advantage of housing in retirement. What's another option, David? You're a rocket scientist. You know this
Sure.
stuff.
Yeah. So another option is rolling it into your new 401k. So like we mentioned in the previous segment, when you have money from an old 401k and you're maybe starting a new job, another option here is to just roll the money from your previous 401k into the new 401k. A lot of employer plans, 401ks will allow that option to occur where you have money from an old 401k and you roll it over. This is especially nice if you're trying to consolidate and keep things all in one account and not have to manage multiple accounts. And the other big reason why this is important is if you plan on working past your what's called your required minimum distribution age. If the money is in a current 401k where you're actively working, you technically can delay your RMDs, your required minimum distribution. So that would be the other big reason why you might want to roll an old 401k into a new one. Because if you have an old 401k or IRA and you do turn your required minimum distribution age, you will have to take money out of those accounts, even though in your current 401k, you don't have to.
Yeah, that's a significant reason
Yeah.
to roll it over into to the new 401k. And also convenience could certainly be
Yeah.
a factor. I know I've talked to many people that say, I can't manage all of these financial accounts. Like I lose track of them. It stresses me out. And so that may be another option, just to have everything
Yeah.
in one spot. Once again, if you're good with the investments and you're good with the fees that are in there, that may be a good option.
Yeah.
Option number four. So that's a good option. Option number four, which is a great option, that's to roll it into an IRA. Why don't you unpack that for us?
Yeah, sure. So this is my preference. Again, if you're not a minister or a pastor that wants to keep the money in the 403b, this is probably my preference just for control. And so if you have money in an old 401k, you can certainly roll it over into an IRA, and whether that's managed by you or with help from an advisor, you can certainly control. There's more control there, so you can control your investments, your investment options, your fees, your expenses, the services that are provided through whoever you choose to open up the IRA with. And then also, if you want to invest, more towards your values, you also have options there from an investment perspective. If you want to, alienate some types of funds or include some types of funds because of your values, you can certainly have more control over those investment options inside of the IRA.
Yeah, it's a big deal there. The fact that you can choose from anything that's out there. Now, when you have your 401k or your 403b, you know that, and I'm talking to the listeners here, that there's just limited options. You look at the funds that you can invest in, and that's it. That's it. You're stuck with those. Now, once again, that's not always bad, because there may be some good investments. The fees may be good. But when you roll it into an IRA, now everything's open to you. I mean, you can access all that, especially as you mentioned, if there's some investments that more align with your values, you can pursue those, you can invest in those. And so now everything is available to you. And so it is a really good option if you have an old 401k, an old 403b, whether it's you do it on your own or you get a financial advisor to help you do that. That can be a really good option. So those are your four options if you have an old 401k, and it's likely that you do. It's likely that you have an old 401k, 403b out there, because you've changed jobs maybe 6, 7, 8 times, maybe 12, maybe beyond that. I don't know. But it's possible that you certainly have one out there. So my encouragement is to look at your past employment, consider whether or not you may have had one out there. Maybe you forgot about it. Maybe it's just kind of sitting out there. So go. That maybe that's going to be our money challenge actually for this episode. So go and go and find those old 401ks. Try to figure out what you want to do with them. Once again, 4 options: cash out. We don't want you to do that. You can do nothing. That may be a good option if a minister and those funds are held with a denominational pension board. Roll it over to a new 401k, or you can roll it into an IRA, which is a great option because now all of the investments that are out there are open to you.